Okay, thank you, Paul, for the invitation in this seminar. Today I'm going to talk about this work that we published very recently this year that actually took us like about 4 years to complete. And it involved the collaboration of scientists from France because it was in a CP AMSUD project that is willing to cooperation, international cooperation, to keep international cooperation between France and South America. So this involved the cooperation of scientists from Colombia, Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Ecuador, Peru, and of course France. And this was recently published in Climate Dynamics. So the main question here is that, as you know, when we need regional simulations, many times we rely on general or global circulation models. So as you know, these global models have very resolution. They use a lot of parametrizations, they use a lot of schemes that not necessarily represent well the different patterns at the regional level. So basically what we wanted to look is, okay, how can we help the regional modeling community to select global models that they can use to force their regional simulation. So that was the main aim for this, and particular because South America, as I will mention later, is a very long continent going from the tropics to the extratropics. So it's not common to have studies that cover the complete South American continent, but for particular subregions in the continent. So here our idea was to assess how different CIMIP6 models, in particular, like more than 50 models, simulate some particular issues that are important for the regional simulations. So when we go, what is available right now in terms of regional climate change simulations, of course, there is CORDEX, and of course, there is the high resolution, the HIRESMIC models, but they are still coarse at this moment. They are like 25 kilometers that can be very coarse to represent, for instance, the Andes or to represent other features in South America. There are two ongoing efforts led by NCAR in the United States and Met Office in UK that are more convective permittive simulations in South America. NCAR with the South American Affinity Group, SAR, they developed two runs at 4 kilometers using WRF. One more historical based on ERA5, and the other one more based on a PGW, a pseudo-global warming approach. So they are not following exactly SSPs, for instance, to see different scenarios. They are more based on the 2 degrees Celsius global warming level. And Met Office use a different model. This one is using WRF. This one is using a UK model, and this one is more based on historical simulation. So our idea was to see how could we help the regional community to select global models to force, for instance, CP simulations or other type of regional simulations. So as I mentioned, South America is a very big continent. It covers tropical latitudes, subtropical latitudes, but also extratropical latitudes. So we have the influence of many different aspects. We have in the tropics, for instance, of course, the easterly waves, but we have, for instance, tropical dynamics going on, like the tropical easterly waves, for instance. We also have subtropical aspects affecting the region, the subtropical jet, for instance, or the subtropical anticyclones are very important in the North Atlantic, South Atlantic, but also the South Pacific. More in the polar regions, we have then the polar jet, we have the extratropical westerlies, we have the existence of the Andes Cordillera, more than 7,000 kilometers. So, of course, we have a lot of gradients in precipitation, in temperature. We have the Amazon. We also have some of the driest places on Earth, that is the Atacama Desert, but a few also of the wettest places on Earth, like in Colombia, in Chocó, in the Patagonia. So we have a big picture of different features that are important in South America. So that was our question, to check how some of these very important futures are being simulated by global models. So our question was to assess more than 50 CIMIC 6 models in their historical simulations, the representation of different futures that are important as the ones I mentioned before, but also because, you know, when you are using a regional model that is forced with outputs from global models, biases in these global models can bias also the regional simulation. So something that is very important in the regional simulations is the moisture and heat fluxes across the boundaries. So we also check how these models are representing these boundary conditions in terms of the heat and moisture fluxes. So I'm not going to discuss all the results. I am only going to refer the way we assess this evaluation. So for instance, we were focused initially, as many studies do, in seasonal spatial patterns. So how the models represent seasonal spatial patterns for low-level winds that are important for the region, upper troposphere winds, sea level pressure, sea surface temperatures, because we know these are boundary conditions for the regional models, and also precipitation. Most of the studies focus on precipitation and temperature. Here, we are not that focused on precipitation, but we know that is a feature that is very important regarding modeling, so we also assess the evaluation of precipitation. So we did something like this. Here I'm showing just one example, for instance, for the sea level pressure patterns. You can see in the top the Taylor diagrams. One of these different symbols represent different models. Here you are seeing the ensemble mean of the seasonal pattern, and here we are observing the ensemble bias. So how is the bias shown by the model? And when you see the small dots, it's because at least 80% of the models agree in the sign of the bias. So this was one approach that we to rank the models. We use the Taylor skill score to see the different models for the different seasons, how are representing. For instance, for sea level pressure or for winds or for precipitation. So we focus on particular features as the one I mentioned before. We know, for instance, that trade winds are very important in the tropics, the westerlies more for the subtropics and the extratropics, the Bolivian high, that is a high level upper troposphere feature, very related with the Amazon precipitation, the subtropical jet, the polar jet, the subtropical highs. So what we did was we used different indices using in the literature to represent these futures, and we assess how the models represent the annual cycle of these different futures. Here we are observing as an example how the models represent the subtropical jet stream and the polar jet stream in terms of their strength and their mean latitudinal location. So one of these lines represent a different model. You are seeing in the solid line the reference data that we used, that was ERA5, and in the dot black line you are seeing the ensemble mean, just to see how the multimodal ensemble doing. So in this term, we use a lot of time series for the different futures, and here we are observing, in particular, we assess the correlation coefficient and also the root mean square error as a metric to rank the different models. We were also focused on the ENSO patterns. We know that ENSO is very important for variability in the region, and also the sea surface temperature patterns are important in terms of boundary conditions for the regional models. So we, in particular, assess not only the sea surface temperature patterns, as I mentioned before, but also the ENSO-related patterns. So in this case, we analyze how the model perform in terms of the ENSO sea surface temperatures anomalies, but also in terms of their Fourier spectrum, in terms of seeing how is the peak spectrum that the different models have. So we assess also using the Taylor diagrams and also using correlations and root mean square error for this particular power spectrum. So this is something that we also consider in our evaluation. And we also focus on the vertical, on the 3D structures that are important for the region. For instance, the Walker and the Hadley cells are very important in circulation for South America. So we assess the spatial pattern of these two particular circulation. So in just an example for the Walker cell, we consider the irrotational component of the zonal wind for this particular longitudes to represent the South American continent, and we assess also how the models represent this vertical structure. You can see here pressure as a measure of how is the vertical circulation, and we see, for instance, if we compare with sea level pressure Taylor diagrams, I will just go back just to show. Here we can see that, for instance, for sea level pressure, the dots are very close to the reference. It means they have a better resemblance. But when we go, for instance, to the Walker cell features, particular, for instance, for these two seasons, there is a large spread in the models. It means that the models don't do that well as in other patterns. So that's something that we also consider. And here we also rank the models for the regional cells using the Taylor skill score. And finally, the other features that we care about were the boundary fluxes for South America, considering in this case, for instance, the north or south flux in this boundary, and in this boundary, the northern and southern boundary. In this case, we're more focusing the zonal transport of moisture and also of heat to assess how the model represents this. So for instance, in this case, you are seeing for only two seasons, December, January, February, June, July, August, the representation of in this case, the vertical integrated moisture flux in the northern boundary. It means this, and for the different longitudes. So you are seeing how is, in general, for this season, the moisture flux across the northern boundary. Again, you are seeing the ensemble mean, you are seeing also the reference data that was ERA 5, and in colors you are seeing the different models. So in this case, we consider also correlation coefficients and the root mean square error. And I'm not showing here, but we also did something similar than for the Walker and Hadley cells, and is seen in the vertical how is this moisture flux and this heat flux across the different boundaries, to see also not only like in general the vertical integration, but also seeing the spatial patterns in terms of the boundary fluxes. So this gave us a lot of metrics that we use and that we combine. Here is just to show you the huge amount of data and analysis that we made. You are seeing here, for instance, how the models represent circulation features associated with, for instance, with the Bolivian high or winds or the westerlies. Of course, I'm not going to go into the details. You can see here the different models. This is based on correlation. This is based on the root mean square error. And here in qualitatively, what we can see is that if it is dark green, is because the model does a good job on this feature. If you see a dark purple, is because the model doesn't do a good job on that feature. And in general, you can see if I go particularly for one model, any model has the best performance for all the features. You can see that some models behave well for some features, but done very badly for other features. So this shows really like the huge variety, diversity of models that we have. And our idea was not to select the only one model that is best for South America, but more to give like different clues for the scientists that are then going to use this information to run regional models, to focus on those models that do better in the particular features that they are interested in, or if they are interested in a particular region, then checking in that region, depending on the features that are important for that region, which models could do better or not. So for instance, we gave a couple of examples in the paper showing how to read the different tables, because we have a lot of tables for the different features, ranking the models according to their performance, and also based on the Taylor skill score. For instance, here I'm not showing that, but here is a summary. For instance, if I am in Northern South America, like in Colombia or Venezuela, which features could be important for that region? So for instance, these are features that are important for our region. And this is the top 5 of the best models representing the different features. So again, you can see that no model is the best in all the features, but you can see that there are some models that have a good representation of the features that are important for North and South America. Or here in this other table for southwestern South America, more Chile, for instance, which is more subtropical and extratropical. So here we give like a guideline how the reader, how the user could use the information and the analysis that we perform in our paper. So our intention was not to explain the reasons behind the biases. That is something that we need to explore, and there are many papers and scientists focusing on particular features in South America. So that was never our intention with the paper. According to our knowledge, the literature review that we have done, this is one of the few studies that address this systematic evaluation of a large number of models for a large number of features in the region. And this could be, for instance, for efforts like Cortex, for instance, to select the models that they are going to use to run with the Cortex protocol, or any other type of approach for regional modeling. So as I mentioned, this was a collaborative work with more than 12 scientists in South America and France. And this is one example of how collaborative work could be done. Actually, this was possible because we run all the scripts in an IPSL server in France. So that international cooperation is also important, because in that way we can also to other resources, have access to other resources and do this type of research. So this is just one example. There are similar cases for Africa and Europe, studies that have done something similar for those continents. Actually, that was our inspiration to do this in South America. And this is like an assessment of a general view of the South American continent in terms of how CMIP6 models perform for our region. So this is what I wanted to share with you. Thank you.